example, 3 months, then we heard 5 days, Oslo. Reality is what Michael and Eckhart experienced when they were all with us in Heidelberg. In Heidelberg was a guy who was totally passionate. His name was Max Weber, and he said, politics is about Bohren, dicker Bretter. I have no clue how you translate that into English, but you get an idea. When I asked AJ to give us a quick update how long it took from Shubru telling us last year, sitting there, standing up and saying, we need to get Noida in. AJ, it was 12 months, thanks to your help, but can you give a little bit, 2 minutes, on what you had to do in order to have now 2 cities? That's the Indian approach. We ask for one, it takes them 12 months, and then they push directly 2, because they say, it's not only Noida, there's another city called Greater Noida. You take both. AJ.
Thank you. So, Dr. Subra Sen has been championing that initiative. He's here in the room with us. Subra.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. So when Roland came, I and Shubro met with the authorities of the district, which we have these 2 cities from, Noida and Greater Noida. These 2 cities are actually very close to the national capital, the New Delhi, and they were founded in the year 1976. Incidentally, the civic authority of these cities is the wealthiest in the country. So they have the most wealth with them, but it does have a lot of challenges. The literacy rate is about 80%, and the population is about 1.6 million. So we went ahead, we gave them the invitation, formal invitation to join, and then the whole work started of lobbying and convincing them to join the race. We had to push various ministries and various people at the bureaucracy level. Very happy to share with you that they have formally accepted the invitation. I handed over the letter yesterday to Michael and Roland. So they have signed up for the program.
And if I may add on a somewhat facetious note, you talked about bureaucracy. You haven't seen anything until you come to India. In this case, the state in which Noida and Greater Noida is India's largest state. It would be one of the top 20 countries of the world in terms of size and population, if it was a country. So it's extremely ponderous. We're very relieved that we managed to get it this far. We believe the prognosis now is very positive, and eventually I think the sheer heft of this effort will start to count and help the platform. That's our hope.
Just to disclose, as since 2 minutes we are live, so Shubru, thank you for your openness. Everything what we are now saying is no longer Cheltenham rules. Before you bring us a first question, I would like to, as always, point out this is all about Beethoven. And at a certain point, you have to say no. And I think that was a speeding up process for Noida and Greater Noida, because in October we simply said, it's done, toast, let's move on another city. The moment they had their no, they got into it, and now we are all together. There are other cities who are fast, like Moscow, Coco City, and I'm welcoming Stephen, who is here because he's passionate about 2 things. One is energy, and you know, among the SDGs, energy is one of the key points. But at the same time, if you look at his life, he was always good, and that is from where he started, to turn negative energy, somebody trying to attack him, into positive energy and making it constructive. Stephen, if you want to give 2 minutes on Moscow, and then more important, what the future city Japan is about. Just loud, you can say but loud.
Well, I was raised in Japan, and we have a lot of people there who are very, very interested in sustainable energy and trying to set up a situation where we can maybe take a whole island and make it a smart island, which is a little bit easier to control in terms of, you know, affecting the different technologies and legislation and stuff like that. So we've kind of cornered a couple of islands, and we're talking to them about making that a smart island. We have other areas where we'd like to make smart cities. Our whole reason to want to do this, of course, is that we feel that in doing this we can have a gleaming example around the world of how technology can make a great example of what is not only cleaner energy, but what is smarter energy, how to take that which we were not only throwing away, but that which was polluting the environment, and making those things either disappear or be recycled in such a way that we use them. And so this is the kind of thing that we are trying to do in Japan. In Moscow, I am making some progress with the governor of Krasnodar, which is the least polluted city in all of Russia. And we are talking about a place called Gelendzhik, making that city possibly a smart city. And so this is just something that I'm working hard to do, not just to do it, but to show the world what kind of an example we can set with this kind of mindset in technology.
Thank you. Bert, do we have a question, or can I?
Yeah.
You have one?
Yeah, there's lots of questions coming in. So So one of the first is like so many people who want to. They are curious about what's going on here, and one question come from Professor Günther Koch. So how can we profit from what's going on in this room? He's also co-founder of the New Club of Paris. So, but in general, a lot of people want to be part of it. So can you explore that?
So as he is a professor, what we bring to each city is 51 PhD students. Why 51? I was always bad in maths, but it's 17 SDGs, right? But I don't believe any longer in science, how it is established or was established 200, 300 years ago. If we still believe that on SDG 1, one representative from academia might have a solution, I don't buy that. No. So that is why we form teams of 3, maybe one who studied politics, one who studied economics, and one who studied something completely else, maybe a musician. They together will work on SDG 1. A next team of 3 on SDG 2, etc. So if my maths work, it's 51 per city. That makes it 1,530 PhDs per year. 12 months in city 1, 12 months in city 2, 12 months in the city from the developing world, and then the 4th year you can write your PhD. I know a lot of professors get a heart attack, what, in 12 months? But guys, you need to change as well, right? So,
yeah, but it was just one voice. We also have James Anusa he was innovation chief for Burning Man, a community in San Francisco, and Digital Rain, and it's the same there. They're also wondering what is the theory of change here. So how will this influence the SDGs around the platform itself?
Well, it is part of what Omar said. We need to be good in our own procedure, but we need to get better in talking about it. And that is why we have Riz Khan here around us. Do I see him? If I don't see him, there he is. Yes. So Riz, this is your 1-minute pitch for United TV, or the other way of saying it.
You want that now?
Now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me come to the side, it's a bit easier. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to do this, so I'm throwing the lead under this. That's kind of... I had a crazy idea a couple of years ago. Having set up BBC World Service TV, joined at BBC, I was a reporter and everything, and we launched BBC World Service TV in the middle of my career at the BBC. It was the 3rd TV channel the BBC had ever launched. Then I ended up being recruited to CNN. And I was the first South Asian face they had on TV. Now everyone's South Asian, of course. But I ended up in CNN in America, launched CNN International, got my own talk show, then ended up launching Al Jazeera English. And all these 3 channels were like the 3 big channels playing at an international level. Mostly the same people, BBC, CNN, crowd, all good journalists generally. But what's happened over the years is the channels have become either very heavily influenced by a political agenda. In the case of CNN, for example, they're very much fighting Trump and making a lot of money on it. They made about $1 billion in profit in the USA. And the channels have been largely influenced by commercial interests or, in some cases, government interests. So I had a crazy idea that how do we make a channel essentially democratic? So I came up with this idea of selling shares in a company that is a TV channel. Let's say, for example, we have 1 million shares at $10 each. We have $10 million. Not a lot, and not enough to launch a TV channel in the old days, but nowadays with modern technology you don't need that much money, and $10 million will easily launch a good TV channel. The idea is that these people, these citizens, own the shares, and no one has more than 100 shares, so the maximum shareholding is $1,000. In that way also, the channel can grow. Obviously, a million shares, if we need to, we can launch 10 million shares. We would run the channel for God knows how long. Then there's the issue of where does the news come from, what's the editorial process? And one of the things that people always say to me is, I wish I could flick between these channels to find out who's reporting what. Because one of the big issues is, well, CNN said this, but BBC said this, but so-and-so said this, and TRT World said this. So I'd like to have news shows in there. And it's not a 24-hour news channel, it's programming, so we can cover developmental issues, progress on things like the SDGs, which most major channels don't carry. But the news would largely be an aggregator, where, for example, the anchor comes on and says, okay, we have a story of a ferry going over with refugees capsizing off the coast of Libya. CNN says this, the BBC says this, Russia Today says this, the local TV channels say this, and that's it. So that way, it's much more democratized. That's my pitch, a bit crazy. I was actually not saying much about it till Roland kind of revealed it. But anyway, I'd love to get some feedback at some point.
And we call it crowdfinance.
Yeah.
So guys get in contact with...
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good way. That's a good way to pull in.
And hopefully it's a channel or it's news that is actually talking and broadcasting about things that are made possible.
Yeah.
And not just about bad news.
Right.
You know, what is it that we actually shift?
You know, now everyone gets everything on their phone. So the beauty is any of the programming is on demand. And the beauty is on my TV shows, I had free reign. I covered issues such as, rehabilitation of child soldiers in Sierra Leone, or water rights issues, or whatever, which the general channels don't because they want death, disease, disaster. So we would do everything really.
So the main point is, as it is about economics, did you do your maths? Did you look which cities we selected? If you add them up, you have from day one on an audience of 125 million people. Who in the world starts on that number doing a newspaper or doing a TV channel? This is what we have. Each of these cities can only be a city if they mentor another city in the developing world. That will be another 125 million minimum. So you start off with 250 million. I think that's a good
And you can have shows
pitching
like
point.
City Life, looking at what's going on.
Great. Let us end this session because not everybody can be a city, or there are lots of cities, but we can only do 25. But there is one solution for those who want to do more, and this comes from Alan, the idea of hubs, because we need to do more. Alan.
So thank you, Roland. I'm Alan Mayo, a Smart City Strategist in Greenwich, which is on the Great Meridian along with Accra. Listening very carefully to the debate, and particularly from Omar, about the need for a strategy and an action plan. And my view is that we need, and we will be meeting tonight with Trondheim and Accra to discuss the frameworks which cities need, but we need to establish those frameworks and a process to take the action plan forward, to get the investment forward, to make the change that you're looking for, Omar. But my vision is that we need regional hubs. Let's get centers of excellence. Let Accra be the West African center of excellence, the hub, which people, they can learn from all of us, or we can learn from them, and then they teach and educate and support the other cities in West Africa. In India, obviously, you've got a huge number of smart cities developing, and Trondheim can or Espoo can cover the millions of people living in the Arctic Circle. But that's the vision, and why not Kuwait City being one of the hubs in the Middle East, working with Audi, the Arab Urban Development Institute, which I'm working with, that we can really spread this on a hub and spoke basis, and really make this motor, rather than just one-on-one, build a hub and grow in a region by region. Then you'll get your VIP.
Thank you.
This is the action that I'm talking about.
We are done. We are not done. We will continue tonight at the SDG base camp. Thank you very much. We hold our breath and we continue.
So I just wanted to invite everybody to the SDG fair we're having in Accra in October. We've taken the lead. Accra is the center of the world, literally. The only country on latitude 0 and longitude 0. So we are happy to invite you all to come over. Thank you.
Can we do a picture in front of our logo for everybody who's there? A picture there.